Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Ask Matt Live. What is this, number 6 now? It's been a little while. Let me know if you guys can hear me all right. On my end, it says that the microphone thing is going back and forth. So in theory, you should be able to hear me. I got a few things to kind of introduce things here a little bit. And apparently I have it going over here. Just a second. All right. I can't hear myself anymore. I had it up on the other computer still. So, as I was saying, I got a few things to get things started as we're waiting for comments or as we're waiting for questions to come in. And if you haven't been to one of these before, to ask the questions, there is a link. If you're watching over on YouTube, there's a link in the description to the Google Plus page. That's where you can actually ask the questions. That's where I'm watching for questions. And if you hop in there, you can actually vote the questions up or down. So if there's a question in the list that's been asked and you really want me to get to it, you can hit the little +1 and it'll help it get to the top of the list. I just kind of go at the top of the list, start working down. So if you're new to the channel, because I know the channel is growing and a lot of new people coming into it all the time, a little bit about myself. I am a full-time content creator. I make the videos you see on my YouTube channel, the stuff on my Instagram page. That is what I do for a living. I do it full-time. I've been doing the content creation thing full-time for about 18 months now already. It's been a really quick and wild ride so far. I am a self-taught woodworker. I've been woodworking since 2008, and I really got going into it in 2010. And then I started my YouTube channel I started posting in 2014. That's about it for that. I also want to mention that I did put together, or I had some help putting together finally an about page on my website. There's a link to that in the video description on YouTube. If you want to learn more about my background, what I do, how I got started, you can check that out. That's still a work in progress. I still want to add a little bit more detail to that. But if you're not familiar with me, that's a great way to just kind of familiarize yourself with me and what I do. So as we're waiting for questions to come in, I have a couple of pre-submitted questions as well. But I also wanted to remind you or let you know that I'm going to be a speaker at Woodworking in America this year. I have 3 sessions that I'll be, I guess, hosting or conducting or whatever there this year. I have a session on making your own lumber. I have one on risk mitigation, how to keep your workpieces from becoming harmed because of you and your mistakes. And then the last one is about working focus on. Okay, so if you're going to be, that's going to be in Cincinnati, September. Hold on a second, I have a little email here. I was all prepared for this too. There it is. So it's going to be September 16th to the 18th in Cincinnati, and there is a promotion going on still right now. If you register by July 31st, you can save some money on the full conference pass by using the code down there. It's flashing back and forth. There's me right there. So definitely, if you're going to be in the area, if anything, if you don't want to take the classes, definitely stop by and just visit the marketplace. I'll be there. It's a great experience and a great opportunity to try a lot of these, especially the boutique hand tools. Like if you can't go to, well, I think you can get them at Highland now, but you can't go to most stores and put your hands on one of Chris Vesper's bevel gauges or squares. So he'll be there and you can touch all of his stuff. So let me get into the questions. I have 2 pre-submitted questions from Twitter. Thank you guys so much for these. The first one is from Brian Prusa. He's asking me, he asked me about my schedule now with JR, who's my son. So in the past, Ask Matt Lives has kind of come up like what my schedule is like. And back then I was working nights. My son was a newborn. My wife works during the days. So I would watch my son during the day, work at night, and then sleep whenever I could. That was hard, to say the least. So now my schedule is a little more, I don't know, normal or practical, I guess. So I think we started in March. We hired a nanny, and she comes in all day Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then does a half day on Friday. That's where we're at as far as budget goes right now. But that gives me some actual solid blocks of time where I don't have to worry about anything. I can just work on my work and not have to worry about what my son is doing, which is super nice. Thursday is my day off. I don't really plan to do much work those days. I can usually get some email done or some editing done while my son's asleep. But Thursday is kind of like my day to spend with my son, and we go visit my wife for lunch every Thursday, which is a lot of fun. That's pretty much the highlight of my Thursday. And then on the weekends, I try and work whenever I can when we're not doing anything as a family. You can usually get a few things done on Saturdays or Sundays. So that's pretty much my schedule. I got fixed, 30 hours of work time fixed, and then variable whatever I can after that. I think I usually end up around 40 to 50 hours a week, which is a huge drop from where I was before my son was born. When I started doing this full time, I was easily doing like 80 to 100 hours a week on this stuff. Next question is from Brian McCauley. Brian's awesome. Check him out. He's asking, should you save up your money and buy your last tool first, or should you buy a tool to just get the job done? I have an interesting opinion on this, because there is certainly a point where buying just a tool to get the thing done is probably not the best way to go. But generally, I would say the best way to go is to just get the tool and get the job done, because your experience and your skill that you can gain by buying that tool and doing that thing now is way more valuable than the money you're going to save by buying, your last tool first, for instance. Most of my tools have all been not last tool first. I've definitely taken that upgrade path, and I'm happy I did, because it got me into those tools at an earlier time. So instead of sitting around on my butt for 6 months to a year to buy, whatever tool, like a jointer, for instance, I bought a cheap one that I could afford at that time. I got the experience with it. I got the skill. And since it was a jointer, I was able to save money on milling lumber or flattening lumber and all that stuff. And I got into that awesome place where you are actually using stuff that's dimensioned properly and is flat, which makes your entire process a lot easier. So again, I just think most of the time you're better off just getting something to get you in the game, because getting in the game is more important than having all the fancy tools. All right, time to get into the questions. Again, if you're just joining, if you hop over to the Google Plus page, there's a link to that in the description. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a spot there. You can go into like the play area there, and you can ask the questions in there. You can vote them up or down, and I'll get to them in the order that they are listed, probably. It's a bit of a rough state. Any suggestions on how to restore it? I honestly don't know much about molding planes. I don't have any. I'd love to get some. I want to get a set of hollow and rounds just to play with and have those around. But at this point, I don't really have any good information on restoring those things. Most of the time, I'm pretty sure they're all wood, unless you get like one of the Stanley ones with the molding cutters in it. So I'm not sure which one you have. If it's the standard ones with the Stanley 45s or 55s, one of those kind of things with the interchangeable blades, the restoring process is pretty similar to any other plane. If you check out Wood by Wright, check out James's channel. He did a video pretty recently on restoring a 45 or 55. I forget which one it was, but he also showed how to sharpen the cutters and all that stuff too. So I'm just not the best person to ask that question. Next question from Scott. Hello, Scott. How you doing today? Thanks for stopping by. We've all seen the giant ash and maple logs you've acquired. Have you got any plans for them? If so, what? The only plans right now is to cut them up into slabs. After that, I don't know. I'll probably end up selling most of them. I want to try and keep a couple for myself to do a couple projects with, just so I can have that like full content experience from tree all the way through the final piece, but I don't have any space to keep them all forever. So most of them will probably get sold off, but I'll keep a few of them. And most of those ones that I got recently, I am planning to wait until I have the large bandsaw mill built to mill those on the bandsaw mill, so that has a purpose, or it has a reason why I built it to be with so much cut capacity. Next up, loving the family channel. Thank you. That's a lot of fun. We've been doing that almost a year now, almost every single day of the last year. Almost my son's entire first year's life is documented there on our vlog channel, which is a lot of fun. What is your go-to workshop music? Most of the time I'm filming, so I don't get to listen to much music. It's kind of funny that like the workshop experience is takes a back seat to the content production. So although I used to listen to music all the time in here, most of the time I don't, because most of my, probably all my videos, I have the shop noise as the background of the video. So whatever the saw is cutting or the hand tool is cutting or whatever, that's always the background sound. So I can't have music playing at that time. However, if I have my little headset thing on here, I just have it's really easy to just put the radio on and listen to whatever's on the radio. Most of the time I have to turn it off because it's always ads on the radio, but I'll listen to something on the radio, or if I have my phone and I want to hook it up for a while, if I'm going to do something for a long time, I'll have my phone hooked up via the little jack thing on there, and I'll try and listen to some podcasts and stay caught up on those. I try to listen to all the woodworking podcasts just to stay up to date with everybody that's doing that stuff. This question is from Drew. Do you plan on doing any timber framing projects? Yes, I do have one that I started technically like 2 years ago. I'm planning to make a timber framed arbor and swing to go in our backyard. 2 years ago when we did the patio, we had some leftover concrete, so I poured some footings for that. And eventually I want to be able to haul in a white oak log and cut 6x6s and I think 4x6s out of it, and then make a timber framed arbor and then hang a swing in it, which is gonna be fun. Heavy, but fun. I think it's gonna be a good one. What's up, Donnie? Says thanks for the live talk. Hey, thanks for stopping in, Donnie. You're awesome. Do you have to pay for the large logs you pick up? If so, how much? This one's from Derek. No, but the ones that I pick up, I try not to pay for them because there's plenty of free stuff out there. And most of the time, if someone wants you to pay for it, they're out for some ridiculous amount of money. So large logs you saw me pick up the last few months, those were all free. I found those on Craigslist. They were just sitting in a dump pile for firewood. Those were trees that were removed from people's yards due to a street widening project. The city just dumped them in a pile there last summer, and they were just trying to get rid of them. So they posted them on Craigslist. They were there for firewood, but luckily for me, no one could really come and cut them up. Out of there. I got most of that pile, which is nice. Next question. I really love your work and how much of a hard worker you are. What motivates you day by day to get things going? That's a good question. Some days are easier than others, that's for sure. But more than anything, I have an undying drive to not sit on my butt. That's really it. I always want to be out doing something or getting something done. Very rarely, maybe like a couple times a month, maybe I want to like actually just sit around and do nothing. But really, what motivates me is not sitting around. I just want to get things done and see things happen. So I don't know. That's just more personality more than anything. But yeah, I try to get as much done as possible every day. Every day is definitely different for me now. Being self-employed, you never know what every day is going to be like. Some days go faster than others. Some days you get as much done as you hope, but most days you don't. You just got to kind of live with that. Another one from Scott. Any chance of a collab with you and Guy? And if you could, what would it be? That'd be a lot of fun. It would probably have to be something a little smaller since both of us make furniture pieces. So unless we got together in person, which is, I'm not saying it's not impossible, it would be pretty hard to do anything super crazy. But maybe we could do something where we both build the same project or the same, I don't know, thing or same kind of umbrella item, and then we both put our own spins on it, both as far as design and as far as construction style. That could be interesting. I just made that up. Guy, if you're watching, I don't have any time to do that for a while, but it could be fun. This one here is from Matthew. It says, hey, Matt, love your channel. I've learned a lot and have been inspired as a new woodworker from watching your videos. That's awesome. Do you have a favorite woodworking podcast you would recommend? Well, my favorite woodworking podcast is clearly Wood Talk. Well, but in all seriousness, I listened to Wood Talk since they pretty much started before I was on it. But Wood Talk, the Modern Woodworkers Association, Shop Talk Live from Fine Woodworking, the Dusty Life podcast, I like that one a lot. They just started that not too long ago. That one is a lot of fun to listen to, and Making It, I like that as well. Occasionally, let's see who else we got here. Makercast, those are more interviews. I was on that about a year ago, I think. I think that's all the woodworking podcasts. I could be wrong. Oh, and Lynn has one, Darvin Orvar, as well. So there's a lot of them out there. There's definitely more content than I can consume anymore. From Paul John's Life. Which do you spend more time doing? Milling and collecting lumber, or building projects? Probably building projects, but even that's not that much. Mostly it's in front of the computer editing videos. James, we're just talking about you. How did the thin epoxy work for the farmhouse table? Does it harden the surface? Yeah, it worked great. So the wood that was good still, so like here's an example piece here. So this piece of wood has a little bit of rot inclusion here, which isn't super, it's not super soft, but it's still softer than the surrounding wood. So the wood that was still good is it still feels like normal wood. It doesn't feel like plasticized at all. But then again, you're gonna be covering it in finish anyway. But the softer stuff, it just hardened right up. It is really great stuff. In a few places, like on the bottom side, I actually used West System epoxy to just kind of coat some of that stuff, just to kind of seal it in and kind of soak in there and harden it that way. The CPS worked phenomenally well. I definitely recommend it if you have anything like this where you have some partial rot going on or some full rot like I did. It was like super punky and soft. Just harden it right up and should be good for forever. Scott, you're really getting into this question thing. I like this. We know you have been doing some projects for the online. Probably, maybe not. It depends. What I have going on with Mark is going well. It went really well, and honestly, there isn't a reason for me to do my own thing at this point. Just because Mark set up a really good system for us, and it's a really good deal for me. So in reality, it would probably cost me more to do my own school than to just keep working with him. So that's where that's at right now, at least. But I have no plans on stopping to do that kind of content style. That's always been my business plan from the start, was to offer premium content of that style. Hey, Kelly. Says, I've been watching you wrestle the logs and slabs around. When does the Bobcat show up? When my wife lets me buy one. Or when I have somewhere to put one. That's the other thing too. Everyone wants me to get a tractor or a Bobcat, but that's that much less space for logs and lumber. This one's from Slapstick. Are any of your family members craftsmen of any type? Did they influence you? If not, who influenced you to work with your hands? No one in my family is a craftsman in the sense that they make their living through making stuff with their hands. But the person that influenced me to work with my hands the most was my dad. Growing up, we always were working on the house or fixing something. He taught me that you can do whatever you want because you can teach yourself to do pretty much anything. And just getting into it is not that scary if you just kind of aren't afraid of trying new things. So that's kind of what got me into woodworking, where I'm like, well, people do it all the time. Why can't I do it? So that it's kind of a dangerous mentality because it can get you into all kinds of things or take up a lot of your time with all these side projects or whatever. But without that mentality, I probably wouldn't be able to just start doing this by myself without any training or without any help from anyone. So that's that. Hey, Dima. Says Matt, you do great work. Thank you, Dima. So do you. What is your favorite Dima's woodshop tool that you own? Well, I own so many, but the one-of-a-kind pen and marking knife is my favorite Dima's woodshop tool. It has a carbide marking knife on one end, and the other end has a pen. For me, when I'm filming, I have to write in pen or else people can't see the lines I'm drawing. So the pen is really nice for that. And then I always try to mark as much as possible with a marking knife. So this is nice. Plus, this is a lot harder to lose. I always lose pencils and pens everywhere in my shop. I've had this for like, how long have I had this? Like 4 months, 6 months, something like that. Haven't lost it. So that's saying something. Another one from Slapstick. How do you feel about oil stones as an alternative to water stones and diamonds, particularly starting with a coarse crystalline and the medium India and an Arkansas stone? I don't know. I honestly have never used oil stones, never worked with them. I know plenty of people use them. For me, it seems like it'll be a little more messy in the sense that oil can get, on your clothes and stain or whatever. But as far as I'm aware, they're pretty comparable to water stones. The only real difference there is the cutting medium or the cutting fluid, the cooling fluid or whatever. Where's the best place to get clamps online? I live in Ireland. I don't know. Anyone in the UK have a suggestion on places to get tools online in Ireland? Scott's killing it today with these things. I know in your family vlog you mentioned trying to get some funding for the new sawmill build. Any joy yet? Well, not yet. I have a couple of inquiries out to a few other companies, but we'll see. At this point, it's going to be mostly self-funded, but thanks to everyone who purchased my sofa table build earlier this year, that's possible now, I guess. Are you selling your really wide wood slabs? I noticed that these are sold at really high prices. It's from Andrew. Yes, I sell just about everything that I mill and cut, and I don't charge ridiculously high prices for them because I don't believe in that in a sense. The thing that prevented me from expanding my shop and being able to do more was the cost of materials. And it doesn't cost me much to make these things. And if I can pass that along to somebody that can actually get into this and work with wood at a reasonable price, I'll do that. It's from Michael. I'm currently building a trestle-style desk for my wife. The desk has quarter sawn top in white oak. What would you recommend for finish? I want to avoid staining it. I've never done like a finish where I wanted to bring out like the quarter sawn Rayfleck, which I'm guessing is what you want. So I'm not entirely sure what the best finish for that would be. I know a few people have asked me this in the past. I still have no answer for them. But the biggest, probably the best advice I can give anyone that's trying to figure out what kind of finish to use is to just get yourself a few boards that are just sample boards, pick up a few extra finishes or a few different types of finishes, and try them and see what works best for you. You can also do a few searches online to see what people are using. You can try over on Lumberjacks. You can just search. I think they have filters for like wood types, so you can probably check for people that did projects in white oak and see what their finishing process has been like. Other than that, I should probably know that by now, but we'll see. I do have some quarter sawn. It's not here. Some quarter sawn white oak for the table. But for my table, I'm not trying to bring out the quarter sawn rays. I'm not trying to make that the look of the table. So I can tell you how to hide it, maybe. Turn it to the inside. Where do you see yourself career-wise in 5 years? That's a good question. I was actually thinking about this like last night or 2 nights ago. I would really I want to just keep doing what I'm doing. I want to keep inspiring people and producing the builds that I have been doing, like the sofa table and the farmhouse table, where I can actually walk people through the entire process, because that's a much more freeing medium than doing the videos on YouTube. Not to say that that's not a thing I want to do as well. I hope to, well, my wife wants me to write a book, so maybe that'd be kind of fun. And we'll see what happens with the speaking at Woodworking in America. If it goes well and that's something I enjoy, which I probably will enjoy, I just have to get over the butterflies and the prep work. But I think speaking would be kind of an interesting thing to do as well. So there's definitely a lot of opportunities here, and we're just kind of like at the start of it. It can really go anywhere from here. So I'm actually really looking forward to the next few years, because it's going to be probably a pretty wild ride. Another one from James. How do you get through a project slump, like that project you get into but feel like it will never be done? I have a few of these in the past, and usually what I do is I set it aside and work on something else. That usually kind of brings me back to the desire to get that project that I didn't want to work on anymore finished. And I just realized something on my shirt. Anyway, so taking some time away from that project really helps me to refocus and actually get excited about that project again. So then when I get back into it, I can actually move forward with it really quickly. Because one of the problems I have is if I force myself to do it, the project tends to actually go like really slowly. Like I don't work as efficiently or whatever, because I just don't want to do it. So by forcing myself, I'm actually making it worse off for myself as well. So time away is what I do. Thank you, Matthew. A book would be an awesome idea. Any ideas for a theme for it? At this point, the first book, if I write more than one, will be on making your own lumber, because that seems to be a pretty, there's a lot of information there, so I could fill a book. Do you plan your project for the next do you plan your projects for the year, and what's the next indoor project? I have kind of like a list of things I need to do in my mind that I kind of pull from. Usually what ends up being the deciding factor recently has been the necessity in the home or around the home. So the farmhouse table was a necessity because that's been on my list for a long time, and it needs to be done. More importantly, for my wife's sake, to get the wood for that out of my basement so we have room down there. The next indoor project, depending on when I get going here, is going to be a bed for JR. Since I don't want to make another crib ever again in my life, I need that crib back for my second child. So JR is going to be losing his crib probably early next year. So I want to get his bed made and get that out of the way. From Sean. What's up, Sean? Hey, Matt, I'm getting a circular saw in a couple of days, and I was wondering if you knew of any useful jigs that I could make for it. Yes, the most useful jig you can make is one of those straight line track saw type guide things, where you take the piece of plywood and you put a little fence on it, and then you cut that board down so you have the exact place where that saw is going to cut. You can set the thing right down on the boards, and you can cut right to your line just like a track saw does. That's probably the number one jig. Number two jig would be like a square guide. So all it really is just a fence with a perpendicular rail that you can put wherever you want, and then you can make your cuts. The idea is that the fence is taller than the cut depth on the blade, so you can make a cut through the fence, and then you have the exact position of the saw blade to make your cuts wherever you want them. And then the last one, off the top of my head, is the one that Andy Klein just did a video on his lumber rack, where he had, it's like It's like a half lap or a dado guide, where it's 2 pieces, one for each side of the fence, and you can put a piece of wood between the 2 halves, and I'll give you an exact width dado for that. Check out Andy Klein's channel. He just did a lumber rack where he demonstrated that. Pretty sweet. Will there be a video woodworkers booth at WIA this year? There's no plans at this point. I don't think enough people are going to be going to make a whole booth, but a lot of people are going to be there, so it'll be a little more informal this year. Book idea: child minding for the modern woodworker. Yeah, I do that quite a bit. Basically, wait till they're asleep. From D. Richards, I do a lot of urban sawmilling. That's awesome. I'm excited to do more of it. The bandsaw you are building is very interesting. What width are you planning to be your maximum cut? I'm planning for a 60-inch maximum cut. And that should get me through almost all the logs I have in my pallet right now. And the rest will be, anything larger will be chainsaw mill. Scott says, I have been enjoying guys' veneering projects. Have I done much veneering myself? I honestly have not done like any serious veneering. Nothing real like that. I've done veneering where I've done like a resawn piece of crotch wood that I've veneered to a solid substrate because I didn't have a thick enough piece to make the whole panel of that piece of crotch. But that's about it. Nothing crazy. This one's from Jan from Norway. It says, what is the next project? Thanks, Jan. The next project is the bandsaw mill. And JR's bed. That's the furniture project. Another one from Slapstick. Do you ever go to designer furniture stores like Pottery Barn with your wife, and your wife says, let's buy this, but you respond, no, I can make that. But your wife says, no, I'll never get it done. Just buy it. Yes, all the time, constantly. Yeah. However, I do, when we're at furniture stores, anything that places that sell furniture, I like to look around at the furniture they have there. It's a good way to get ideas and inspirations for your own projects. So you never know what you're going to find. And it also makes you appreciate the work that you can do, because you look at some of the stuff that they're selling and you're like, this is going to last like a year. Are you doing a dovetailing classes at WIA? I'll be there, so hope to meet you. I'm not. They don't have me scheduled for dovetailing. They just have me scheduled for the 3 sessions that are listed on the website there. But I think they'll probably have the hand tool Olympics, and a few of the booths have tools you can use. So we can definitely play with dovetailing at like the Lee Nielsen booth or something while we're there. How long did it take to gather all your tools? I have a small woodworking shop and still miss a few of the big ones: table saw, thickness, planer, bandsaw. And do you make a living out of woodworking? I can answer the first one first. I do not make a living out of woodworking. I do not sell the things that I make. I make videos about woodworking. It's a little bit of a different spin on the woodworking lifestyle. How long did it take me to gather all my tools? I haven't bought a whole lot of tools the last few years because I pretty much have everything I need. At this point, it's just going to be upgrading to bigger or nicer machines and tools. I started in 2008, and then I really started buying tools in 2010 after I got my first full-time job. So maybe like 5 years or so, something like that. Siri thinks I'm talking to her. Something like 5 years or so to get like a solid setup of tools, and then it just kind of grew from there. Right now I'm 8 years out now. Yeah, I've been doing it for 8 years. So whatever you see in here is 8 years worth of accumulation. Next one here is from Tony. You have inspired me to start using epoxy in some of my projects. Nice. It's fun. Where do you get your epoxy pigment? I usually pick it up at either Rockler or Woodcraft. You can also get it on Amazon. If you know what color you want and you don't want to see it in person, you can obviously buy it online. I got mine at I think about one at Rockler and one at Woodcraft because I wanted to go in and see the colors in person. From Daniel, what did you do professionally before woodworking? I designed software and managed a software team and managed a startup thing. A lot of that stuff. I was at a software startup company for, how long was it there? 5 years, 6 years, something like that. Started from nothing, from an idea of a product to a product on the market. And then I managed the development of the product and the ongoing improvements and versions and all that fun stuff. I did a lot of UI work and business stuff. Any plans for a shop extension if necessary or a kiln? Not right now, not on this property. I don't know where I would go with the shop extension. This isn't our forever house either, so I don't know when we're going to be able to get a larger home for all of these babies we keep having. But ideally, we would move somewhere where I have space to build a freestanding dedicated shop. As far as the kiln goes, not here on this property. The basement works really well as a kiln. It actually works just as well as a solar kiln for the most part as far as dry time goes. If I wanted to put a kiln on this property, besides the fact that I can't have any more accessory structures without a variance from the city, the only place I'd be able to put it is right in the middle of my driveway, and I won't be able to use my driveway anymore because that's the only place where I get sun. I have so many large trees here that there is no full sun or even like mostly full sun area that would work in, except for smack dab in my driveway, and then I won't be able to bring anything down here. So, yeah. I want from Jan. What is your background? Did you start with YouTube early? You always have a smiling mood. That makes me happy as a weary happy. Well, it makes me happy. That's good. I'm just a happy person in general, so I'm doing what I love, so that helps quite a bit to keep the happiness going. As we just talked about, my background is in software design. I did that before. I went to undergraduate for finance and information systems. I started my YouTube channel in January of 2014 and started posting my shop updates then. Just to get in front of the camera and kind of get comfortable with speaking in general, speaking in public, speaking and just talking about stuff like this right now probably wouldn't be possible back then because I wouldn't be able to just talk about this stuff pretty freely without stumbling. It was a self-improvement thing. That's why I started my channel. Does the bandsaw build scare you, and have you finalized the parts list and materials list? It does not scare me. I am really, really excited. New things do not scare me. They excite me. I am not happy just doing things that I know how to do or that I've done before. That's not for me. The thing for me is to try new things and push myself to learn new things and to develop new skills. That's what really gets me going. So I'm actually really excited about this build. I have not finalized the parts and materials list yet. I'm still working through that with Dima. But at this point, we are pretty much set on the track system, which is the easiest part of the build. A few of the parts I finalized. The wheels, I've got that figured out. I've got the supplier for that figured out. And I think we decided on the screw size for the raise and lower mechanism as well. But the idea here is to build a very basic manual mill to start that still has the power and the cut capacity, and then in the future add more features to it to make it a more robust tool, which would be all hydraulics. So in the future it'll be all hydraulic fed, everything. So looking forward to that, but it'll be a while. Question from AM. I found that recording video during a build makes it go much slower. Welcome to my reality. Do you ever look at the footage while you are still at it, or do you all just assume that you got a good shot. If you're doing repetitive jobs, which one do you record? It depends on the build. A lot of the times, and this is probably a mistake on my part, I don't do enough editing as I go. I record all this stuff, and then at the end of it, I do all the editing, which actually ends up being a lot more work. What I've been doing for the farmhouse table build, though, is I have actually been trying to do a little bit of editing, or rather not editing, more like compiling as I go, getting my clips together so that when it is time to actually edit that, add the voiceover and everything is there. The takes that I did where I talked to the camera, all the bad ones are taken out. So I had the good one that's ready to go. And I also can see that the audio is good, or the shots are good. I had that problem with the sofa table build where I was editing that like 3 months after I built it. So if I didn't get the shot, I had to figure out some way to convey that piece of information without having the project there being worked on in front of me. So I learned that lesson back then. If I'm doing repetitive jobs, usually it depends on what it is. If it's something I'm pretty good at, I'll just record the first one and then just turn the camera off for the rest of them. If it's something I haven't tried before, usually I'll do like one of the last ones, probably second to last one, just in case something bad happens. So I still have one more to go. Another one from Scott. We've not seen much of Jim lately. Have you fell out? No, I didn't fall out. And when are we going to go out in the woods again? I got to give him a call. He's been working. So Jim works like seasonally. So most of the time he's working like he drives trucks. So he's working like 6 days a week, like 12 to 14 hours a day. So when he's actually working, you don't see much of him because he's pretty much working and sleeping. But I think he's done now. I gotta give him a call. Question from Willem. How's it going, Willem? What social media sites are you not on and why? How do you decide on your social media strategy? I think I'm on all of them. Technically, I'm on all of them, but I don't really use them all. I don't really use Google Plus like at all. I use Pinterest every now and then for my own like research, but I don't really like have a following there because I'm not doing anything interesting. And Facebook I had used for a while, but it's just so annoying that platform. The app on the phone doesn't let you like see, like it'll tell you like, oh, so-and-so mentioned your page in a comment, but then you can't go look at it, what the heck they said, unless you go to your computer. So that was annoying. And the things I post there don't get seen by very many people, which is also kind of annoying. So I haven't been focusing much on Facebook lately. But Instagram is my biggest thing. It's just it's easy and it's fun, and the interaction there is incredible. So Instagram is my biggest one, and then Twitter is probably my second biggest at this point, as far as time goes. From Gary, what are your thoughts about CNC machines? They're great. I have one right there. I mean, if you have the money, that's something you want to do. I think it's a great tool. It can definitely complement any work, or you can do all your work on the CNC. It's a great thing to have, and it's a great time we live in that we can do so much fun stuff with the CNCs. From Michael, let's see. I'm a hand tool guy, but recently added a table saw jointer and a thickness planer. I'm in dire need of dust collection. What would you recommend to get me started? As a side note, for some reason, I feel guilty when using the power tools. Well, if anything, as a hand tool user, it gives you an appreciation for the ridiculous speed that we're able to work at in the last couple centuries. Dust collection, I would recommend anything. If you, I don't know how big your shop is, but like a stationary dust collector like the one I have is definitely a great way to go. If you have the space for it, these things are the worst design ever. Like, I don't know why they keep making these stupid designs where it's like, let's throw everything into this one area and clog the filter, and then it stops working. So if you have the space to add a separator to it, that's going to help out a lot. But ideally, you want to go to a cyclone because it's just going to be so much more efficient and last you longer. But then again, if you're mostly hand tools and you're only using your power tools occasionally, that might not be a big problem for you. It really depends. But I think the best way if you're going to get one of these single stage units is to go over to Harbor Freight and pick up one of those. People seem to have really good luck with those, and they all do exactly the same thing. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Does your shop/garage have AC? Seems like you work with your garage closed a lot. Yeah, it's closed right now. It does not have AC, although I do have a window unit that I can put in here. I just haven't put it in here ever. My shop is partially underground, so it's kind of like working in a basement, but not that cold. It does stay a little bit cooler than the outside temperature. Because of that, the garage doors are insulated, and that's a south-facing door, although most of it's shade most of the day, but that keeps some of the heat out as well. But mostly because it's thermally, has a nice thermal break. So there's a conditioned living space above me, and that's the basement behind that wall. So like that wall and that wall, well, that wall's partially underground. So it just doesn't get that hot in here. Well, as hot. When it's about, it was like what, 97 the last few days, the last week, and it was like mid 80s in here. Still pretty sweaty, but tolerable. I do not play Pokemon Go. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for anything that I could get obsessed over and get sucked into. From Robin, when do you chamfer edges and when do you round them over? Depends on the look I'm going for. Most of the time I'm doing a round over. Most of the things that I do, I like a solid, a thicker look, or like a squarer look. So I have a really like, I just break the edges really lightly. So if it was actually like a round over, it'd be like a 1/16 of an inch, if anything, because I like that look a little better. On my cutting boards, I had chamfer just for a look or whatever. Time's up?
Time's up.
Time's up.
JR's still sleeping.
He's still sleeping?
Yeah.
This kid sleeps forever.
I know.
It's crazy.
He's happy. He needs to sleep though.
All right. I'm going to ask you 2 questions here real quick.
2?
Yeah, I know.
That's a lot.
Have I ever worked with exotic lumbers?
No.
I did once. I built a
Purple
table,
heart?
a Purple Heart,
That's barely exotic.
and that was it. And
That's
the rest is domestics. I have never worked with anything that doesn't grow around here besides Purple Heart. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. Literally all domestics. Cherry, walnut, ash, maple,
White oak.
white oak, red oak.
And the Purple Heart table's not even done.
Purple Heart
So
table,
he really
yeah.
didn't work with it all.
Yeah, that was like, we're going to call it done. That was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, still not done.
All right. Anything new on the trailer? It's still working. That's about it.
Yeah.
Hasn't broken yet. Still looking good. The last upgrades video I did was pretty much where it's at right now. Still good. So, Daniel says hi.
Who?
Daniel.
Hi,
And
Daniel.
Demon says he should be working in the shop, but he seems to be more interested so in this.
Oh, how sweet of you, Dima.
Yeah.
Coming to see life?
You want to see life after this whenever Jay works up.
Oh, good sleeping.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you as always to everyone who's stopping in. If you have a dire question, just shoot me an email. I'll try and answer those.
You won't.
You know, I will. I'll try. But thanks for stopping in. Thanks everyone for all the questions. This was fun. I try and do these every other month. So expect this again in maybe October, early October or something like that.
After WIA.
After WA. Yeah. After I do all that prep work for that. That's what I'll be doing for the next 6 weeks is prepping those classes. All right. Thank you, everyone. You have any last words for everybody?
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday, everyone.
It's the weekend.
It's the weekend.
It's nice here. It's not actually like deadly hot.
It is 80 degrees in the shop right now.
No, it's pretty nice. I'll take it.
Yeah. All right. See you, everybody.